Ladies, if you really have high standards, you will never have to tell a man. He will already intuitively know. Men can pick up on the fact whether or not women are within their standards fairly quickly. Take it from me, there's zero reason for you to shout your boundaries to the world. A woman with high standards carries herself with such a poise, and she has this energy that just speaks for itself. It's why I said men will just know intuitively. The girl who's always shouting about how she has such high standards and will never let a man do this or never let a man do that or break this or whatever the heck it is usually the first to break her own boundaries. We all know that girl.
And that's an interesting thing about mathematics is when you're 50% right, you're 100% wrong.
Well, lady, you're sort of right. I mean, self-respecting men can usually spot fake people fairly well, and women who kid themselves into thinking they're high value are rather easy to spot. Usually the designer clothes, the obsession with her phone, as well as the constant vacant look of exhausted misery as you reach the ripe old age of 30 are typically dead giveaways. There's no hiding that, no matter how hard you try. So it doesn't really matter if you claim to be high maintenance or present yourself as such, we can tell, and it's a clear-cut sign to avoid you like the plague. Men don't want women like that. It's too much work and will get virtually nothing in return except for a cold, heartless, demanding old shrew who thinks she's entitled to a rich man because her parents never told her no.
A high-value woman and a woman with high standards will not have to tell a man what he did wrong. She will simply leave. The need to chase a man when he pulls away absolutely repulses her. It's not a green light for her to try and prove her self-worth. So if you ever feel like you have to ask a man for princess treatment, you're not acting like a princess. So, be about your business. If he doesn't approach you, it's because he knows that you aren't within his reach. And that's fine, because another man will step up to the plate. Just keep doing you.
Great plan.
Thank you.
He likes your plan, Chief.
You know what, I gotta say it, the sheer level of ignorance a modern woman can conjure up is nothing short of dumbfounding. She assumes a high-value woman is someone who acts rich, even though her credit card statement clearly says otherwise. In her eyes, a high-value woman demands the finest things in life because she thinks she's pretty. And despite men's efforts, they have decided that the men who know what they want are wrong. Self-respecting men have told you for years what we seek in a woman: fertility, warmth, kindness, and maybe some mad Battletoad skills. That never really hurts. And the reason why no man is gonna step up to take care of you is because there is nothing worth taking care of. Why should he? You have a list of demands that are completely unreasonable. We have told you this time and time again, but you will deny this every time because you'd rather seek bliss in your ignorance than face that particular brand of truth.
Good luck.
This is why nice guys finish last. Men, we women, of course we like nice guys. It's not the niceness that's the problem. It's when the niceness desexualizes you, that's when it's a problem. A lot of nice guys tend to compromise on their masculinity by trying to be too nice. And then they turn around and blame not being able to be successful with women on being too nice.
Wrong! Sorry, woman, that is just plain wrong. You claim you want a nice guy, and that is not the same thing. If modern women wanted nice guys, then why do modern women have a history of dating toxic men who load them up with trauma, baggage, and an inability to love another human being? Now, we're not talking about simps here. Those guys are doormats and incapable of being respected. We are talking about average, decent, self-respecting men who just want a peaceful life with a woman they care about. But all we hear day in and day out is how there are no good men left and how all men are trash and about how she just wasted 6 weeks in a situationship and she probably can't even count that high. Modern women do not want nice men. You have established this, not through your words, but through your actions.
If you're a man who's nice and you still have your masculine traits, so this means you're a leader, you're not a people pleaser, you take risks, you go after what you want, you will be very successful with women, including the ones that you are really, really attracted to. Masculine traits are the most important factors of attention for a man. So be a good guy, be a nice guy, but don't give up your masculinity for it.
They know. They just don't care.
Hey lady, if this was 60 years ago, I would be inclined to agree, but we live in the digital era where women have infinite choices when it comes to men, and an average man could be as masculine as he wants, but no woman is gonna want to be with him if she thinks she has a shot with the Duke of Pookieton. So those kinds of men are either ignored or filed into the friend zone for future use. And after 15 years of watching you waste your prime years in a blur of technologically induced monkey branching, you're now turning around and telling us that we're still not good enough. Well, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, sister. We're done, and we don't care anymore. And we couldn't care less about what we have to do in order to get a woman. Anything we do for ourselves, and if we deem you worthy, maybe we'll let you come along for the ride. Until then, we choose peace over damaged goods. You had your fun, now it's our turn. So your advice isn't wanted or needed. Thanks anyway, Toots. We're good.
Wish I could stay, but I got a thing. Bye.
Chivalry is dead because feminists, singular, are killing it. Well, firstly, chivalry is not dead. My partner is very chivalrous.
Boy, there's no real easy way to say this, but, look, you're a simp.
And secondly, it's very indicative when someone uses feminist in a negative connotation, because the only two options are either a feminist who believes that everyone is equal, or a misogynist who believes that men are superior. So by saying things like this, you're just announcing that you're a misogynist, which is probably the problem.
What?
Alrighty, sweetheart. For starters, chivalry is a code of conduct held by knights and focused more on the conduct with the noble class, to which you're clearly not a member, and the etiquette when it came to battle, and the treatment of women was only really a small tenet. And considering I'm not seeing a broadsword hanging on your wall, I definitely don't think you qualify for such treatment. And second, that dude is totally right. Chivalry died when feminists decreed that 99% of men were dangerous, violent, hateful creatures, and you straight up demanded that we leave you alone. And finally, feminism isn't about equality. You act as if feminism gives you a hall pass to act morally superior to everyone around you, so you feel justified on openly mocking anybody who disagrees with you. That's why you use the term partner instead of boyfriend. You don't trust this guy's ability to lead, and you demand that you control everything and pretend that it's an equal, meaning that you don't respect this man, thus making you a misandrist. Now, the rest of us aren't misogynists. We don't hate you. We're just pointing out your hypocritical double standards, to which you have many.
But you know what? I want to check out your profile anyway. Let's just check out your profile and see if feminists are the problem here. Spicy food, MMA, and video games, it looks like. Let's see.
So we got the Cinefuego Toast Crunch. I honestly wasn't going to do this one because it didn't seem spicy, but I've seen a couple TikToks. People are saying it's kind of pretty spicy. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to do a time lapse on this one because it's going to be super dry. And
Wow, that was riveting. Yeah, I don't know if feminists are the issue here, bud. Have a good one.
Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
You know what, woman? You look like the best you could possibly hope to accomplish in life is to become the president of your local chapter of the Hoobastank fan club, but I wouldn't bet too much on that happening. The competition is far too stiff. You're incapable of making any kind of statement that could even remotely resemble clever. When someone hurts your feelings, you immediately resort to playing the victim, calling him a misogynist, or pulling out the big guns and calling him an incel. And because your brain miraculously developed without the basic skill for wordplay, you decided the best comeback you could think of was a pathetic attempt to put the guy on blast by openly mocking his channel for reviewing a box of cereal like your content is any better than his. At least that dude is providing a practical use for society. All you're good for is figuring out new and creative ways to make the brain dead somehow even more brain dead. And even in that capacity, you are failing miserably.
No one makes friends with a failure. Okay? You understand?
So I have a hot take on the manosphere and men who are 30 years old and are telling each other that they need to date younger women because they're mature for their age and they're easier to deal with and they're less experienced. So I want to show you something. So this is a research report from the University of Rochester about understanding the teenage brain. Doesn't matter how smart teens are or how well they scored on the SAT or ACT. Good judgment isn't something they can excel in, at least not yet. And the rational part of the teen's brain isn't fully developed and won't be developed until age 25.
Wow. That's amazing.
Well, you can always leave it to an aging, hollowed out, bitter bag of old crust to completely deny why the manosphere exists. The manosphere developed out of a need for men to be able to build each other up. We embrace peace, masculinity, and self-improvement. Yes, we make fun of you, but that's because you make it so painfully easy. Many of us have no interest in finding women at all. Many of us, well, not all, but many have been treated like dirt too many times by women that the idea of taking the plunge into that particular vat of raw sewage isn't really all that appealing anymore. Now, some men do preach finding a younger woman, and there's a reason for that. It's called basic biology. All males try to get with the youngest and fertile females to mate. It's literally built into our DNA. And the second reason is that younger women don't really have as much baggage as you. They're more likely to be friendly, and they're not nearly as bitter. But that's only if a man chooses to re-enter that world. Most of us really don't want to. It's just not worth it anymore.
In fact, recent research has found that adults and teen brains work differently. Adults think with the prefrontal cortex, the brain's rational part. This is in part because the brain responds to situations with good judgment and awareness of long-term consequences. Teens process information with the amygdala, which is the emotional part of the brain. In teens, the brain connection between the emotional part of the brain and decision-making center are still developing, and not always at the same rate. That is why teens have an overwhelmingly emotional input, and they can't explain later what they were thinking. It's because they weren't thinking as much as they were feeling.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
You know what, woman? I think I know what you're getting at here, and I like it. This woman is proposing that all women's rights must be forcibly delayed until the age of 25 when their brains are fully developed. That means when a woman turns 18, she won't be able to engage in mutual relations because she is just not smart enough to think. But why stop there? If she can't make a good decision there, then she shouldn't be able to purchase tobacco, drive, vote, join the military, start up an OnlyFreaks account, or if you live in the US, purchase firearms until she turns the age of 25. After all, if a woman can't be trusted to choose her own mates when she becomes a legally recognized adult and capable of making her own decisions, then she can't be trusted to make any other decisions. Man, brilliant idea, woman. Let's give her the recognition she deserves for thinking that she's a smart.
Woo! Hey! Hey!
Okay, so let's go back to dating young women who are still teenagers and still have developing brains. So the reason that you have these men in the manosphere who like these younger women is because those men have not developed emotionally or logically, right, to be able to think or be a man. So instead, they look for young girls and young teens that don't have a developed judgment function. And then the reason that they hate on grown women who are in their 30s is because our judgment function is so strong that we literally have our third eye because we have our prefrontal cortex to see through that bullshit. We're like, yeah, we know you're full of mother shit, and we call it out.
Are you sure?
The third eye? Is that what kids are calling their rectums these days? Well, I can't say I'm surprised. You are awfully good at talking out of that area of your body, and I see what you're trying to do here. It's despicable and it won't work. If a female is in between the ages of 18 and 20, that makes her an adult woman, not a teenage girl. You should be ashamed of yourself for making such a disgusting accusation. So stop using such irresponsible language and implying foul things of men who are just looking for some peace. I don't think you're qualified to speak on behalf of young women everywhere when you clearly squandered your youth. You're incredibly disrespectful, you're foul-mouthed, untrusting, and barren. Why would any self-respecting man want to deal with you? I'll give you a hint, sister. There's no reason. We're just not gonna do it. We know rotten goods when we see them, and it's too bad you never saw that out of your third eye.
And we base our decisions on that, so we don't tolerate their bad behavior, where teenagers don't have the capacity in order to understand and see the future of where their bad behavior is going. So they're like, Johnny is so good. Like, yeah, he has money, and like sometimes he's bad and like doesn't answer me, calls me names, doesn't treat me good, doesn't pick up his phone, disappears for 3 days, but it's really just because he's like working and overwhelmed, right? So they just base it on their feelings of euphoria without being able to be like, yeah, those are called red flags.
Emotional damage.
Yeah, we get it, woman. You're jealous. You have absolutely no idea why men your age don't want to date you when they have the option of younger women. And your sense of denial is so strong that you refuse to admit that you made terrible life decisions, and now you will use anything to absolve yourself of any wrongdoing. It's not your fault for allowing men access to your, shall we say, grease-covered second eye. It's the men's fault because you were too stupid to make your own decisions. But even though you think you got it all figured out, I hate to break it to you, sister. Your brain was given an extra 10 years after the age of 25 to do some extra developing, and it doesn't look like it was enough. So maybe you should just go away for another 10 years to develop some more brain power, and then maybe your brain could be on par with your typical brain-dead koala. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. And always remember, a brave man may love the feel of nature on his face, but a wise man has enough sense to get out of the rain. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.